Nobody in the attachment style community seems to want to talk about this topic, but I know if I'd found this video years ago, it would have made everything make sense. Hi, I'm Amy and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. I'm a certified attachment style coach and I help anxious attachers break the cycle of avoidant and emotionally unavailable partners so that you can really thrive in your independence and prevent future heartbreak. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I was a little bit resistant to making this video today because it's something that the community doesn't seem to talk about an awful lot, and that is the mental decline of an anxious attacher, or anyone for that matter, when they are in a long-term relationship with an avoidant partner. But if you're interested in what your attachment style is, I do have a free attachment style quiz. The link is in my bio. My intention for today's video is to really validate your experience. And if you've followed me for a while, you will know that I was in a 7-year on and off again relationship with a dismissive avoidant. And in the end, I was living with this person. So if it is that you're sat there, maybe you're in that relationship right now, maybe you're married to this person and you've been with them for decades, and you might not even recognize who you are anymore. The person you were before you met the avoidant doesn't exist now. And I made a video a couple of weeks ago, which I will link above my head somewhere, about the harsh truth of loving an avoidant. And I had some really heart-wrenching comments from that video of people who had been married to avoidants for decades, people who had really lost themselves. And I know from my personal journey and my personal experience and that of my clients that your mental health with somebody who is avoidant is going to suffer. I just want to caveat this because I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm an attachment style coach. So if it is that you really are struggling with your mental health, I would absolutely recommend that you go to see a mental health professional. When you are in these types of relationships, you might have started off noticing that this person wasn't really emotionally available, but you might well have hoped that this person will change, or even you could change this person. And as you go further and further down the road, and that's not happening, in fact, it's getting worse, you and your self-esteem, your mental health is going to take a nosedive. And of course it is, because how this person's behavior is affecting you is that you don't matter. Your needs don't matter. How you feel doesn't matter. And you start to internalize this and think, well, maybe they're right. And I thought this too, you guys. I used to think, oh, things would be so much better if we lived together. You know, if we're with each other all of the time, he won't feel as pressurized to spend time with me, and I won't feel as anxious because he'll be here all the time. But the opposite happened. In fact, it got worse. And so did I. I thought my people-pleasing days were behind me, and they weren't. I really did bend over backwards for this person. I took on most of the responsibility of the house and living together. When I wanted help with something, I would really have to pick the moment to ask or find the right way to ask. And it wasn't always done. It was a lot of the time it was completely ignored, because my needs didn't matter. And this person was okay to watch me tread water all the time and not assist. I also noticed, and maybe this is true for you guys as well, is that when I was ill or I got sick, it would get worse. There would be no comfort. There would be no help around the house. There would be no support. I was lucky if this person asked how I was or if I was okay. If I'm being honest, you guys, I mean, this is my house. He moved in here and it felt like I was living in his house. It felt really oppressive. And I started to feel really trapped in a very short space of time, because this person was adamant that they had to get their needs met, that I had to be okay with whatever they wanted to do. And before, when there was conflict and we didn't live together, the threat was that I'm going to end the relationship. And I thought, well, if he lives with me, then that probably isn't going to happen. How wrong was I, you guys? Because when we lived together and there was conflict, he would frequently, and when I say frequently, it was probably on average once a month, he would be threatening to move out. The message that I internalized from that is that I can't rock the boat, except for this time I had no space. I had no space to decompress and think things through because we were together and with each other all of the time. So what I did instead was start to suppress what my needs were, suppress what my emotions were. If I was ill, I just got on with it. I slowly came to realize that this wasn't a partnership, that this wasn't a supportive, healthy partnership. And just the realization of that, and the fact that I felt quite trapped now because I felt like I couldn't kick this person out or end the relationship because I felt incredibly guilty about doing that. I was thinking, where's he going to go? What's he going to do? So what that meant was that my boundaries were incredibly lax because I wanted to prevent a conflict, that I didn't say the things that I wanted to say to this person until I felt so bad, then I would have to say it. But then there was conflict, and then they would threaten to leave. I would feel devastated. I would go into my own subconscious codependent strategies, know exactly what I needed to say to get this situation to just go away. And then we would go along the same cycle on and on and on again. And I was feeling really, really desperate. I wanted to go to couples counselling. I wanted to do anything in my power to make this situation okay. So if you're in this situation right now, I completely understand, because there is a lot of content out there that is going to tell you just leave this person, but sometimes it's not that easy. I mean, maybe you're married to this person, maybe you've got children with this person. So someone on YouTube saying, well, you should leave that person, it isn't easy. There are other things to consider. And anxious attachers tend to have a really high tolerance for this sort of behavior because partly it's your own fear of abandonment that is driving this people-pleasy, no boundaries behavior. So you're in a situation where you kind of can't live with them, but you don't really want to live without them either. And it's an incredibly uncomfortable place to be. So I just want you to know that I've helped tons of clients the world over with this very same problem. I have created a really specific blueprint with the exact steps I took to heal anxious attachment and become more secure. If you would like further information on that, my email is in my bio. So living in that situation, living with somebody that is only interested in getting their own needs met, somebody who consistently ignores you, somebody who doesn't communicate and avoids conflict like the plague, you're going to start feeling really boxed in and trapped. And when you do try to discuss these things, maybe you have tried to say to your partner, I'm really struggling right now and here's why, and maybe you've been dismissed. Maybe you've been stonewalled by that person and you're feeling rejected. You're feeling completely emotionally abandoned by somebody who you have given everything to, who you love and who you have invested so much of yourself in. But that's come at a cost. It's come at the cost of your own mental health. And I really started to suffer with depression. I was really not feeling like myself. But what I had learned to do was mask that really well, because I didn't want him to know that I was feeling depressed, because then it would be met with criticism or it would just be ignored or invalidated. What have you got to be depressed about? And so I just didn't want to go there, you guys. So any communication that I had tried so hard to foster went out of the window once I lived with this person, because number one, I didn't see the point, and number two, I knew that I would just feel worse after saying it. So what can you do in the meantime to help you through this situation? If you really do truly believe that you cannot leave this person, the first recommendation is that you start validating your own experience. Stop thinking that you are too much for this person. Yes, they might make you feel that way, but your feelings aren't always accurate. You are not being too much. You are not needy for wanting to speak to your partner. You aren't needy for wanting to tell them about a need or a boundary that you have. You're not too much. I really want you to start validating how you feel about this situation. I feel trapped. I feel depressed. I feel unworthy. And start to develop some self-compassion. Of course you are frustrated because you are either living with or in a long-term relationship with somebody who is incredibly self-centered. They don't see a relationship as a two-way street. They don't attach the same way that you and I do. They don't love in the same way that you and I do. Because if you're sat there thinking, this person doesn't care about me, this person mustn't love me, they might, just not in the way that you need and not in the way that fosters healthy, loving relationships. So I want you to really start to understand your own feelings. Listen to yourself. Your feelings do matter. Your thoughts do matter, but the only way you are going to internalize those positive beliefs are by treating yourself that way. You are so used to being treated like you don't matter that it doesn't register anymore. The dismissiveness isn't having the same reaction as it used to in you because you are so used to it. It's become normal. Take the rose-colored glasses off, because I know when I was in that situation, I would perpetually focus on the positive. I would always focus on, what's he doing right? What do I like about this person? And even if I could only think of one thing, I would cling on to that thing and forget and ignore all of the other stuff. And it's a survival mechanism. You are doing it to survive the relationship. And this might well be something that comes from your childhood, because I noticed I did exactly the same thing when I lived with my parents, because they were so dismissive and avoidant. I learned to focus on the positives so that I could survive that situation. So take note, is this something that you quite commonly do? Is this something that is a pattern for you, to focus only on the positives and not look at the relationship objectively like a secure person would? You're going to start getting really interested in your own life. You maybe start journaling so that you can meet 3 of your big needs that they aren't meeting, which is being seen, heard, and understood. What this is going to do is it's going to reduce the emotional dependence that you have on this person, because that could be one of the major reasons you're still in this relationship, because there is an emotional dependency. We want to try and break this so that A, you're not feeling so bad, and B, you're going to start feeling a lot more confident and a lot more worthy, because you are treating yourself the way that you deserve to be treated. So any treatment that is less than that is going to send your alarm bells off. And the third thing is boundaries. I don't care whether this person listens to your boundaries or not. What I care about is, are you setting them and are you showing up for them? Because if you're not, it's not a boundary. If it is that you're issuing threats or ultimatums with no intention at all of showing up for them, all you're doing is enabling the behavior. Because your boundary is what you're going to do. It's not to get somebody to listen to you. Your boundary is about you. So let's say, for example, you might want a boundary around name calling. Hypothetically, you're in a conflict with this person. They call you something you don't like. You state the boundary, which might sound something like, I have a boundary around name calling. If that happens again, I am going to be leaving this conversation for half an hour. Now, regardless of whether that person name calls or not, what you are in control of is what you do. So you're not enabling that behavior anymore. You're not issuing an ultimatum. What you are saying is, if you do that again, this is what I'm going to do, and do it. Don't threaten it, do it. The next time this person does that, leave the room for half an hour. They don't get access to you if they're being disrespectful. At the moment, probably feeling like you have no control over this relationship, that the ball is completely in their court, and you're going to feel powerless, you're going to feel resentful. So this is really going to help you take your power back. And if you can do these things consistently, guys, you are going to start noticing for yourself how much your self-esteem increases. And when your self-esteem increases, you're going to be able to handle this situation a lot better. And who knows, by the end of it, leaving them might not seem so bad. So I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any stories you want to share, drop them in the comment box below. I also have a YouTube membership open now, which includes weekly live streams with live Q&A, previews to all my content, and members only videos. If you want to see more of this content, subscribe to this channel. I'm Amy, and it's an absolute pleasure to help you increase your self-worth. Thanks for watching.